Hey everybody, this is Wind and Thunder Radio with Thunder Hands. I'm your Huckleberry. I just had to say that in honor of one of my favorite people, Doc Holliday. What a character. If people only knew how really educated and refined that gentleman was. Okay, so let's talk about the New World Disorder. Not World Order or New World Order, but the New World Disorder. I've been doing some research, and I told you I was going to try to figure out some kind of playbook. I'm delving into history right now, and I'm looking at what's happening right now on the planet with the state of affairs that we're in the world, which is just absolutely, you can't even describe it really. There's no description for it except other than psychotic chaos. But the more I delve into history, the more I look at things, the more I see things, the more I research different theories, different, just the term New World Order, all of that stuff. I'm coming to the conclusion that a lot of people are like into this. Well, there's the Illuminati and there's the globalists, and there's like a big scheme, a big plan. Some of them hook it up with reptilians. Could be. Anything's possible, I guess. But the thing that I want to point out is, in researching history, let's go back to this meeting. I'm reading a couple of books right now. I'll reveal what they are later, but I'm skimming through some things. And I'm finding out that there was a meeting back in the 16th century. I guess it was after the 30 years of war, where people were just tired out, worn out, tired of fighting, to the point of like, okay, let's make some kind of agreement here. And so they met in this place called Westphalia, which is in Germany. And it was this giant conference about, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to let everybody have their own religion, their own sovereign nation. They can think how they want. They can have their own ideology. Just leave each other alone. Because they were just burnt out on war, and they didn't like, this is enough. This is it. Okay? But there was never world order, because that didn't work. That little might have worked for a while because they were tired, but each nation has its own ideology. And that ideology, I've talked about this before, is based usually on a religious concept or some type of cultural concept that you just can't get out of people's blood. I mean, I don't care how hard you try. And I did a post recently on Greg Hunter, and I talked about, as an example, let's take the tribes, okay, in the eastern portion of the world, okay, the tribal factions, the Arabic and Islamic and all those factions. There's tribes there, right? And these tribes don't get along. A lot of them, most of them want to slit each other's throats or whatever. Some get along, some don't. And there's Christians and non-Christians and Islamic and the whole ball of wax, okay? The Sunnis, and I'm sure you've heard about it. They don't get along, okay? And they've always had wars, and and even the tribal people in America had their wars. So let's let's look at it as people don't get along, different factions. And if you put that into a worldview, if you interpolate, which means you stretch it out to a farther concept from this tribal concept, if you look at the worldview as nations or tribes, really, and different tongues, right, and different backgrounds and different DNA. Take, for example, Russia is from the Viking heritage, okay? These are the people, the Norsemen, some of them called them berserkers, that's just because they were good fighters, okay? They were tough, and that's where Russians came from. That's where the Nordic, the Ukraine people, all those people. So that's one faction. That's one history of people. And they're a strong people, trust me. They have been known to be strong fighters and have a strong spirit going way back. They have a culture, an ancient culture. Okay, so that's one. So then we have the Chinese, and then we have other nations, the Japanese, culture. Now I think America is basically the only one without like this deep, goes way back culture. It's immigrants basically. It's people from other nations. It's a boiling pot. And a lot of them came from places like Europe and Ireland and China, and there's just a whole mixing pot of people that came over here. The predominance was white European that came over here. The indigenous people in the thousands, millions were already here. And there's two cultures that collided. So looking at history, we see that cultures collide. Ideologies collide. Concepts of God, which I'll talk about later, collide. Okay? And these people are not going to, like, there has never been, quote unquote, world order. It's always been world disorder. And that's what we're seeing right now, world disorder. And people wonder, well, it's all just a big plan. And I sometimes have even gone down that road. It's a big plan by the globalists or the whoeverists to make a one world monetary system and they're all in it. They're playing good cop, bad cop. Trust me. Okay, after researching this, that would take a supreme amount of cooperation and connecting on levels and forgetting about ideologies and shit that just ain't going to happen, people. And I don't care how much you say you're going to agree with one another or do, I mean, look at the summits, the meetings, the conferences, the UN Charter, the League of Nations. Go back as far as you want and look at all the friggin' meetings and see if they did any fucking good. Excuse my French. They didn't. Not even the treaties with the Indians did any good. Because man basically is not for other men. He is basically self-centered, destructive, greedy, for whatever reasons, and for himself, particularly the leaders. I have more faith in the common man, okay? So everybody thinks, oh, the Illuminati, and then they got all these ideas about how these people control, maybe 5 people control the banking cartels and they're controlling the whole system. Well, if that's true, What the shit are you sitting around for, taking it? It isn't true, really. Now, let me qualify this and say, I'm not saying that there can't be movements within the country like the USA to destabilize, and I think the USA has this wet dream, okay, that I don't know where it comes from, and I don't even know if they do, but some think that they want to go out and replace all the sovereign nations that are teetering and they think aren't intelligent enough or whatever, or not democratic enough. And they want to go out and they want to change all these nations and then unify them into one nation, like the European Union and the blobbity blueyon. Okay, they want to unify these people into one coalition, and even the ones that don't want to be unified. Supposedly, this is the West's idea. Well, let me just tell you this. The West couldn't find their ass with both of their hands. Okay? I mean, just look at the track record of their, the Benghazi incident and Watergate and people getting caught in hijinks and people getting caught doing criminal acts. And these people are so psychotically screwed up in their heads and fixated, like I said in my previous video, fixated on money and property and getting the money and property, and then if I lose it, oh, what am I going to do then? And so we give these people credit for, like, they're going to rule the whole world by some playbook? Hello? Now, this is my train of thinking now, just doing some research with history, and this is something I kind of felt, because people have said, I've rooted kind of for Putin a little bit, because I figured, well, he's gonna rear up on his hind legs, which I think he will. The Vikings, I mean, he's even related to Lenin. I mean, he's been in the KGB, the Stasi. He studied Sambo and Judo, which are two just excellent martial arts. KGB, I mean, is this guy going to get worried about a few little sanctions? That's why he goes, he actually does that. Who cares? Oops, tilt my head, the punch went by, so what? I got something in store for you. That's what I'm thinking he's thinking. Now, these different people, these different factions, I'm not saying that there aren't alliances formed at different times. There are. But as soon as these alliances are formed, if you look at history, they usually break up. Unless there's some underlying connection. Now, are there secret societies and are there plans? And yeah, I think there's plans. I think there's different plans in different places. But I don't think there's one big, giant playbook that all the nations are going by and they're all like orchestrating every little event. No. It would be too hard to do that. It would be too, I mean, people would have to be on the phone 24/7. They would have to be, I just can't imagine it, okay? Maybe you can. And I think a lot of these things, like different things like that you hear about, now I know we live in a police state too. That's a given. And I know that the financial system is screwed up. But that's because everybody is not on the same page. Some people want the police state and other people think that that's going to be the answer, and the rank and file people out here in the audience, the regular people, don't think that's the answer. They don't like it, and some like it, and shit, you had a civil war in this country and in most countries, so people in their own countries can't even get along. I just don't see the whole world, being on the same page. I mean, it would take almost a miracle. It would be a miracle. Oh, I'm just going to think just exactly like you. We're all going to think alike. We're all going to have the same religion. That's another thing, religion and God. Seeing all these people that argue about God and argue about religion and argue about their ideology, they either believe in God or they don't, and the ones that believe in Him don't believe in Him in the same way. They all believe in a different type of God. Some believe in God in one form, and they personify God. Let's talk about this for a minute. This is going to blow your mind if nothing else does. I see these people making different names for gods, or God goddesses, the Godhead, throughout history. And they always have this concept of protection from the deity, okay, from this God, that they actually project their own ego, what they would think of themselves as God, or what they think of as a God through mythology. You know, the bearded figure sitting on the throne, the Christians. This is almost the concept they have, with those sitting on His left hand and His right hand. And then they have Jesus, who ascended, who had a beard, who was a man on earth. They have, each person has their own concept, but it's a personification, and a personification means like a person. They're just like us, only they're sitting up there on some big throne or out of our sight with a scepter, and judgment, and looking at the different things. And my question is, do these people have compassion, these gods? If they're up there on the throne and they're all seeing, and all the Alpha and the Omega, do they have love and compassion? Okay? And if they do, well, why do innocent children get burned up and die in starvation? And why does the Bible say to go tell certain people to go kill other people? And why? That's not my concept of what a God should be. So consequently, when you think about that, okay, you think about, well, where is God if He is compassionate and loving and kind and is way beyond us and surely sees, disparity and grief and the horrors of war and all this. Where is this God? Okay. And everybody believes in this God. And again, I say that they all believe in a different way, and they all argue over it. Well, they don't even know if there is a friggin' God, okay? There's no proof of it except nature. Now let's get to that. Let's get to what Thunder thinks. Okay? And believe me, everybody wrestles with this off and on because it's so ingrained in our head about this God. He, not she. That's the first problem right there. If we're all made in God's image, then he, she, not he. Anyway, if you look at it, all the Godheads, which is the conglomeration of gods in all religion, include a she. Even the Christian, they don't even know that, though. But let's get back to what Thunder thinks about God. Okay, just for a second here. It's like, when you practice the martial arts, when you practice meditation, when you practice Qigong, when you practice, you go to this center, and the Hopis knew about it. They opened up the top of their head, the energy centers, and you feel what they call the primordial energy, the primordial Qi, the creative Qi of the universe. Qi meaning an unseen energy. The spirit that moves in all things. Okay? That's what it is. And so, if you go to your higher self, open up your channels and open up to this primordial Qi and ask it to direct you, whatever it is, because we don't know exactly, and not personify it and look at it like it's a person. It's way beyond a person. You just ask it to flow through you, through your higher self. That's what the ancient masters were trying to tell us, I believe. And the people that have to like form religions and put a name of a god and all this stuff on it are missing the point. They're not using their senses to open up to this Qi, this primordial energy to flow through them and direct them and let them go with this flow, like the Taoists say. That to me, and you see it in nature all around you, you see the flow of this energy. So in a way, you're seeing the creative force, and you are part of that creative force. Now, I got off on a little bit of a tangent about God because I want to make the point here that everybody has a belief system. That might be my belief system. Joe Schmo down the block might be a dyed-in-the-wool evangelical. Praise Him, accept the Lord Jesus Christ in your life. Well, that's cool. I have nothing against Yeshua, the man that roamed this earth that said some profound sayings. I have nothing against any master, but we're all masters if we want to be, and we all learn from the masters to be masters. And see, that's the problem with this whole concept of like the New World Order. Who's going to run it? Who's going to run it? And what religion are they going to... And some people say, well, all religion will be abolished. Well, that would be good. That would be great. Let's hope for that, because that's what's causing a division, that and politics. And see, here's another thing that you have to take into account. This is the way I'm thinking right now. It's like, with every faction, like the Democrats and the Republicans and the Libertarians and the, whatever political parties they have in other countries, and they start little rumors and little, let's say, theories. They promote what they even call conspiracy theories, or different theories about, yeah, this is what's going to happen, and, why are they doing this? See, half of this stuff you hear comes from, I found, doing some research, comes from factions. Political factions on the left, political factions on the right. They'll propagate some goddamn thing, some goddamn story to scare the shit out of you. Okay? Globalists and viruses and terrorists, and that's just in this country. I don't know how America got to be so strong as far as influencing other people with no culture. It just shows you what a bunch of smoke and mirrors it is. Here's a country with no friggin' culture, Doesn't go back that far at all. The real culture is the indigenous Americans that go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years that they wiped off this land. But the people that came over here, they don't have a culture. Not like the Ruskies, the Russians and the Japanese and these other culture, the Greeks and the Romans, the everything. They got cultures that go back thousands of years. The Vikings, the Russians, hello? So see the point I'm trying to make here? And I said before, kind of jokingly, man, you can't even get in bed with your own wife and not get into an argument. Not that I'm married, I'm not. But I remember back, well, most of the time, no, I won't go there. But most people don't get along. You talk to your neighbor and they'll go, oh no, man, I think that, blah, blah, blah. So you're going to get a bunch of these lunkhead politicians. You ever look into their eyes sometimes? Somebody like Dianne Feinstein. Ding dong. Anybody. Merkel. Ding dong. Some of them don't have a soul. They say eyes are the mirror of the soul. You look into some of these eyes and it's like, ding dong, glaze, baby. What are they on? But some of the people, and I must say with Putin, and even some of his foreign secretaries and some of the Eastern people, their eyes are more focused. Because they're into that kind of thing. They're into, some of them, meditation and others deep thought, and they're not caught up in the circus type Western atmosphere that we have here as much. Now, the title of this video is the New World Disorder, and that's basically what I think it is. I think that people are basically, a lot of them are greedy, have bad hearts, they want everything, they grasp at everything. They want everything money can buy. Way back to the gold, 49ers ruining the land, and just, it's hard for me to imagine that these people all got together and formed a big secret society that's going to change the whole. It ain't going to happen. What's going to happen is that it's being whipped up so strongly now because of technology, being able to communicate everybody. Look at the news. Shit. You go through the news and you're just like, whoa, on Yahoo or anything. There's so many stories about so much bullshit that you don't know if it's true or not true, and then it disappears in 3 days. There's a guy that was a sniper that's a survivalist that went off in the fort. You never hear about it again. There's this, there's that. Oh man, that's horrible. And then the next day it's gone. Oh, whatever happened to that? I don't know. It's crazy the amount of information that's spewing out through technology. There's so much information that you have to be discerning as to what you believe. If I had any advice to give, I would say believe nothing. Believe nothing. Believe nothing you've ever been taught. That's all bullshit. That's all just brainwashing. Believe nothing you see, hear. Don't believe anything. Just look at it and go, oops, wow, whatever. Be on that higher level of consciousness where you just look at shit and go, don't know what's going on, but it's crazy. If you think it's crazy, A lot of people are coming to the conclusion that this chaos being whipped up with the wars in the Ukraine and the ISIS and the blah 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 blah, all this stuff is like just whipping up into this feverish activity, and I think it's because people are losing their grip. These people that are in control, they made a bunch of big mistakes regarding their worldview as far as gaining money and resources, and they're seeing it slip away, and they're like frantic. They're not helping each other. They're manipulating each other. They're attacking each other. Some are more centered, and those nations that are centered right now, which I tend to think are more Eastern, and those nations that are tougher and not so manipulative, just want to live their history. One of them's going to rip somebody a new asshole. You know? Especially the people that are prideful. What is that saying? Pride goeth before a fall. And that's what's happening right now, is pride. I'm proud of being American. Oh, I want to show you my shirt here. I got this shirt on, I think you'll like it. It says, turn in your weapons, which is, and it's got Geronimo, but then it says, the government will take care of them for you. Ha ha ha. I kind of like this shirt. But that's another thing that people get fanatical about. I mean, you know, everything from left to right, you know. Some people like guns, some people don't, some people. Reason I like them is that if you look at history, whenever they were banned or disappeared, that's when people took over. Did you know that Russia has more nuclear weapons than any planet on the earth? Did you know that Russia has more reserves, gold and oil and all that stuff, than any country? I said any planet on the earth. I meant any country on the earth. They're almost like another planet. Did you know that they were first in the space race with Sputnik? They put the first satellite, the first man in space, blah, 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 blah. I just wanted to throw that out there because I think we're screwing with the wrong people. Not we. Man, I hate, see? I just happen to live here. Sorry. Anyway, this is Thunder. I thought I'd put those ideas out there about history and about people never got along. And you know, the jury's still out on whether this will all come to some kind of big conclusion or head, or we'll just destroy ourselves. That's a strong possibility. You know? It's a strong possibility that we'll just end up, or the planet will destroy us, this primordial force. And see, the reason I like that is that nature, or the primordial chi, isn't hung up on all this. It doesn't take sides. Everything's equal. And nature, we know, can be either very enjoyable or very destructive. I mean, when a tornado rips through an alley in the United States, it doesn't go, oops. This is like the chi of the earth. This is the primordial soup, okay, which we're messing with. I do believe that. There are some things. I'm not saying that all theories, things like chemtrails and stuff, are wrong. It's just that man messing up. Man is just messing up with technology and stuff. But when you see these tornadoes come through, they don't go, oh, I'm not going to go in that town. There's too many children there. That's nature. When you see a hawk flying through the air, looking down for prey, as a predator, sees that squirrel down there, goes, oh, that poor squirrel has a family, I'm not going to eat it. Or when you see lions culling the herd of the weaker ones in a herd in Africa, you have like gazelles or anything, and pouncing on them and eating them. That's nature. It's called survival of the fittest. And there is no right or wrong with it. That's nature. Okay. And the spirit that moves in all things moves through nature. Okay. So, I'm of the mind of like, let that force move through me and direct me where whatever it wants to do with me. Let's be in tune with that. Okay, and not be so hung up on this thing about God. Okay? Because God and politics and governments and belief systems and has nothing to do with this primordial force, this spirit, this energy that's pure, that connects us all. You can put anything, you can call it Humpty Dumpty if you want to. It doesn't make any difference what you call it. Don't personify it, though. Just open up to it. That's the key. That's my thoughts. So, I'm going to end it there today. I just think man is too screwed up, for the most part, too brainwashed, too hung up in his belief systems, knowing history, for this all to be some grand plan. If it's a grand plan, it ain't from our race. Which brings up a whole nother subject about, are there other races, or are there other people that come down here, and are we the only ones that just happen to be in the right place on Earth with the sun just the right distance away and not too far away and not too close so we don't burn or freeze? And sure, a lot to ponder, isn't there? Okay, so I'm out of here. This is Thunder. And I'm going to say, from the one eye of the heart, Chante Ishte, walk the red road, whatever you do, which means just be a good person. Don't infringe on other people's territory. Just be your own person. Don't let people push you around, though. Just be a good person and be your own self-contained entity, belief system, meaning no belief system, almost. Just go with the flow, people. Walk the red road. Adios.